I'm Gavin, and this is MLS Fantasy Picks. Before we get into round 4 picks, here's a quick round 3 recap. A decent week for me. I ended with 81 points for round 2. I had a week rank of 623, and my overall rank is now 38. My budget increased from 108 million to 113.3 million. What went right? I was pleased with my keeper and defense picks. I switched to Galvan at Toronto with that early game, and it worked out. I was also pleased to see Anelli get a good score even without the clean sheet. What went wrong? Some of the top strikers did not perform. Cucho's 6 was okay, but man, a 2 from Arango was not great. Also, I wish I went with Forsberg instead of Espinoza, and I was surprised to see Acosta only get a 4. Now let's take a look at the MLS Fantasy Picks leagues. Looking at the MLS Fantasy Picks Open League, it's still close at the top of the table. If you're watching this and still haven't joined the league, you still can. Link is in the description below. And looking at the head-to-head league, let's pop over there. We've still got 22 undefeated teams. Well done, everyone, in both leagues. All right, let's get into round 4. So, as always, some key considerations for the round. CONCACAF Champions Cup is still going on, and we're getting into the later rounds, so teams are either taking it more serious or, rotating a lot. So keep an eye out this week who's playing in CONCACAF, so you might have a good idea on who's getting rested this weekend for the MLS regular season. Also, if there are any notable injuries due to CONCACAF or any games previously in the regular season, keep an eye out for those. Either don't start those players, or there could be some good opportunities for some more budget options coming in. And then buy team this week, we've got Real Salt Lake on buy, so a couple of options for some, low price players to use for auto-roos, switcheroos for that team. Let's take a look at goalkeepers. Premium, I'm really not recommending a lot this week. I didn't really love the matchups, and I recommend spending your hard-earned cash elsewhere. So let's look at some lower priced options. So Seattle, I don't know if Thomas is going to get the start. Maybe Fry will be back, but I do like that Seattle home matchup against Colorado. So good keeper options there. I don't think Fry will be too expensive yet. And then you've got Melia, Sporting KC are at home against the Quakes, and I feel like the Quakes were doing pretty good, but the past couple of games they haven't looked too strong. So I do like Sporting Kansas City at home. And then budget. Gavron came out of nowhere last week and played really well, and Toronto is still keeping those clean sheets. So budget option would be Gavron. I think Johnson would be a bit more expensive, but hey, they're away in New York. I really haven't been impressed by New York City so far yet this year, so could be a decent shot with Toronto. And then just calling out Gomez here, I think he's $4 million. So if you do want to slot him on the field and then play your main keeper on the bench, just gives you some flexibility. And now onto defenders. So similar themes here, you'll probably notice. But I do have Alba. I think he might be $8 million now. His price keeps rising and rising. Miami are away at DC United. And Alba's been, racking up points regardless if Messi is on or off the field. He's still getting points without clean sheets, so could be a good option if you do want to spend the money. And then I've also got Roldan, Reagan, any of those Seattle defenders. Seattle's at home, like I said, against Colorado. I like their matchup. And then we've got Toronto still. I like O'Neal. He's not too expensive. He should still be on a price rise with a decent performance last week. And then I've got your SKC defenders. So their price ranges a bit. I think Davis is the cheapest option. So he could be a good home look against San Jose. Kristoff, if you don't want to spend the high amount on Alba, but you want to get like an early look, maybe throw Kristoff on the bench if he's starting for the Miami game. And see if they get the clean sheet and then swap him in. And the junk man himself, Mr. Sam Junqua, over at FC Dallas, I think he's still a cheap starter, and Dallas are playing Vancouver. I'm not sure where Vancouver, are yet. Are they great? Are they not? So could be a good option if you're not, if you don't want to spend too much cash on your defense this week. All right, now we can have a bit more fun with our attack. I liked attacking options a lot more this week. So getting things started, who else? Ricky Puig, can't really beat him. I know a lot of people might have started Paintsel last week and he really didn't produce as much as we hope. While Paintsel is a lot of fun to watch, Puig gets those bonus points. Hopefully he's back on PKs and can start making them again. but the Galaxy are at home against St. Louis and are very fun to watch this year. Then you've got Heel. New England are at home against Cincy. Heel is a fantasy beast. He is expensive, so if you've got the cash, he may be worth it. And then Lucho, while he did disappoint a bit last week, I still am always a huge Lucho fan. They are away at New England this week. And then finishing things off, Thiago Almada, they had a great Almada had a great week last week. They're at home against Orlando, who have been known to let in some goals. I really like that matchup for Atlanta this week. Then moving on to standard, I've got Yael Yeboah. I ended up swapping him in after some frantic changes to my team midweek last week, and he did produce pretty well. He gets involved in the attack while there aren't a lot of great Columbus midfield options. I do like Yeboah. They are at home against a Red Bull side. Speaking of Red Bull, Lewis Morgan, he is, not injured anymore, which is great, and they are away at Columbus. So depending if Morgan starts, I don't know. I like him. He's seen pretty dangerous. He had quite the goal. Was it 1 week or 2 weeks ago? So I do like Morgan this week. And then looking at SKC. So like I said, SKC's got a good matchup. I like Tommy for the floor. I feel like he can average a decent, 4 to 6 points per week. But if you're not liking Tommy, good old Johnny frickin' Russell. I don't think he's had too many great points this year so far, but when he hits, so could be a good look against a San Jose squad. Herbers, I'm surprised to keep bringing him up, but he is cheap and he keeps getting points. So Chicago are at home against Montreal. Call it point chasing, call it what you want, but yeah, throw him on the bench, see what happens. Other cheap midfield options, Choinière. Montreal are away at Chicago. Same thing, could throw him on your bench, see how well he does, and if the points hit, keep him. But yeah, I do recommend seeing all those great matchups this week, spending your money on your midfield. But if you do need a couple budget options, maybe Herbers or Choinière are the look for you. All right, looking at forwards, had a lot of fun with forwards this week. Hard to not, bring Messi up if he's not injured. I think they've got one of the early games against DC, so check lineups. He may be worth the start. Cucho, a 6. Can you say it's disappointing? I feel like that's still a pretty solid score for a forward last week. Columbus are against Red Bull New York, who have a decent defense, but I always like Cucho most weeks of MLS Fantasy. And another fun pick this week, Joveljic of the LA Galaxy. They are at home against St. Louis. I feel like Joveljic has been in good form. Just check his points the past few weeks. He's connecting with Puig. He's getting the, fumble balls in the box, and he's just finishing. So could be a good option this week at forward. And then Mr. GG himself, Giakoumakis at Atlanta. Hard to fight against that hat trick last week, so he's pretty much guaranteed a price rise. And Atlanta has a great matchup against Orlando. I like GG this week. And then Pookie. I feel like Pookie's in good form. Minnesota's at home. I like Pookie this week. Anthony, Portland are away at Houston. Could be a bench play, but he is performing well. He's getting you those points, and he's not too expensive yet. And not my favorite pick, but I watched that Toronto game last week, and Insigne did impress. He had quite the banger of a goal, and they are away at NYCFC, and I feel like Toronto aren't that bad this year. We will see. But Insigne, not too expensive. Could be a good, sleeper pick that not everyone else will pick. Good differential. I'm probably not going to pick him, but hey. And then Kokoro, mainly for the mustache, but his points are looking good so far for Montreal this year. I like Montreal. They weren't so great, but this team, I feel like, is completely different this season. He's got a lot of good points last week. He was really fighting in that Miami game last week as well. Throw him on the bench against Chicago, see if he hits, and yeah, he's not too expensive. And then looking at budget options, Aliu at Houston, I feel like he's doing pretty well. He's getting points and he's not too expensive. Another good bench option. And then Sealy. He's cheap. He should be starting. Why not? And finishing off with captains, Ricky Puig. Can't really beat Mr. Puig. LA Galaxy at home, playing St. Louis. I really like Puig this week for captain. And Carlos Heel, New England. Think they're at home. He's always a great pick for a captain. Mr. Thiago Almada. Solid points last week. Atlanta are at home again against an Orlando squad who have let in some goals. Can't go wrong. I'm usually one to pick captains that are midfielders. I went with Cucho last week. I had Acosta. I'm glad I ended up going with him, but I really like the matchups for these pretty strong midfielders this week. All right, that wraps up my round 4 picks for the week. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know who you guys are picking in the comments below. And as always, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, for watching, and good luck this week.